All right, it is 10:45. My name is Sarah. I'm your moderator this morning. I hope you all enjoyed your workshops if you went to one this morning. I'm here to introduce our first session titled The Digital Creator, Engaging Student Interest in Virtual Instruction, presented by Sharell Walker. Sharell Walker is the Student Outreach and Instruction Librarian at Borough of Manhattan Community College, CUNY. While there, she has spearheaded a number of new outreach initiatives designed to engage students on multiple levels and to advocate for the library as a space of safety, intellectuality, and creation. So I'm very excited to introduce Sharell Walker, and I will hand it over to her. And I will be monitoring the chat, so feel free to drop any questions in there. Sharell, it's all you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you could join me here today. I'm going to be showing you some of the different digital things that I've started doing in my classes in the hopes that maybe you'll get some interesting ideas of your own. If you do have questions, you can try to pop them into the chat and I will try to answer them as I see them. If not, I'll try to have an answer question portion at the end. I hope you enjoy the presentation. So firstly, I want to talk to you about how this whole idea came to be and what I'm trying to do here. So as already introduced, I am an instruction librarian as well as a student outreach librarian. We've been trying to get some more creative lesson plans going in an effort to really engage students on multiple levels. And we've been trying to do more with technology and teaching them how to use different technological sources, especially now in this COVID age where everything is via computer. So we've been trying to really take advantage of that. We've also been trying to make our classes a lot more interactive, and this is in the hopes that we can really engage students in the lessons, get them really involved in learning, and make it enjoyable for them all the while. So we've been using some different technology aspects and having students create different things as well as learning different things about their use of the internet and how they use technology. One of the first things that I've been doing is a digital footprint exercise. Does everybody know what a digital footprint is? I do hope so. So for those who don't, your digital footprint is basically a track of wherever you do and wherever you go on the internet. A lot of students tend to be very surprised that there is such a thing as a digital footprint. So one of my first lessons, and I do this in multiple sessions that I teach, is I have students Google themselves. And right now, I'd like you all to just take a minute and go Google yourself. See what's there. If you find anything interesting, let us know in the chat. I'll tell you right now, I Google myself and I come across quite a few things from projects that I was involved to as a graduate student to work that I do now. A lot of students tend to be very surprised and quite honestly a little scared when they Google themselves and find pictures of themselves in Google image searches. They find their Facebook pages. Some of my students were using MySpace back when it was popular. I know I age myself a little bit when I talk about MySpace, but a lot of my students were using MySpace and they didn't realize that if you didn't deactivate your MySpace page, it's still alive and kicking around in the internet world, and it can be found by a potential employer. I also have students search themselves as well as their family members on USA People Search, Spokeo, and Zaba Search. And it can depend on how common your name is. And that's why I also have them search for their family members as well. If you have a student named Tom Smith, there's going to be a lot of Tom Smiths in the world. But then once you start adding maybe the area of which they were born, so for example, I'm from Brooklyn, so when I put in my name and specifically Brooklyn, New York, especially into something like USA People Search or Spokio, then it gets a little bit more clear on whether or not you can find yourself. I have noticed that if I have a student who is an immigrant, they might not find as much for themselves, which is fine. But odds are they're still going to be able to find their Facebook page if they have one, their Instagram account if they have one. Now, when it comes to the digital footprint, I'm not necessarily trying to just scare my students. I am trying to make them aware that what they do on the internet has consequences. So the projects that I try to stem from this include creating their own digital footprint and using it for themselves. So for example, I will have them build their own digital footprint by creating a LinkedIn page. As I'm sure many of you are aware, if a job interviewer really wanted to, they could, oh, there was a porn actress with my maiden name. Oh gosh. Oh, well, that's interesting for a potential employer to Google and find. I have had employers Google my name and they have found different things that I have put on the internet in order to showcase my skill. And this is what I have students do. Create a LinkedIn page with their information showcasing their skills, or create some sort of website using some sort of free website program that will showcase what they're good at. Create a digital footprint that is going to be impactful once you enter the employment world. Like I said, an employer will Google you if they really want to. So I have students try to make sure there is something positive that an employer will potentially find. And by using LinkedIn pages and creating their own websites, those will really help to create that good footprint for a potential employer. See, people always have fun with the digital footprint one. I already see people in the comments just going with it. Something else that I have been trying to use a lot in classes include virtual games. I have built Jeopardy games, which can be fun, but they're a little tedious. Um, Depending on the length of the session that you have, you can try to build a Jeopardy game into the session. You can also use it as sort of a refresher if you are doing a multi-shot session. One game that I love in any sort of session and that can be done very quick is actually the Factitious game. Has anyone heard of Factitious? Okay, I see some people have. So quite honestly, I love Factitious. I find that students also tend to enjoy it a lot when they're in the class and playing along. And what I would actually like to do now is play a round of Factitious with you all, if you would like to, especially for those who might not be as familiar with the game so that you can see how it works. Okay, now my internet connection wants to be a little difficult. Give me 1 second. All of a sudden my link didn't work. I do apologize for that. Hmm. There we go. So this is Factitious, and come on, share. Thank you. So this is Factitious, and they actually have this new COVID-19 genre going on. But what I like about Factitious is that it's the type of thing that you can play very quickly when you are with students in a class. What you can also do is you can create your own account with Factitious, and then you can tailor the questions to any sort of class you are teaching, whether or not you are doing something that is specifically media-based or political-based or medical-based. You can also do that as well. So I'm going to have us start a new game, and we're going to test your skills to see if you can tell if things are fake or not. New Jersey woman who gave a fake name and disappeared after testing positive for coronavirus is found. A woman with the coronavirus who gave doctors a fake name and address and vanished has been found, authorities said Tuesday. The unidentified woman walked into East Orange General Hospital on Saturday, where she was then tested for COVID-19, said Newark Mayor Ross Baraka. A positive result was returned. However, she provided a false name and a Newark address. The mayor explained in a Facebook video, pleading for information. I'm going to show the source, nydailynews.com. So, for anyone who thinks that this is a real story, you can type in yes in the chat. If you think it's not, type in no. Okay, I'm getting a lot of yeses. I'm getting some no's. So far the majority says yes. So this is exactly how I will do it in the class. So since the majority says yes, I'm going to click yes. And that was correct. And then it explains to you how you can tell whether or not the story is correct or not. It does mention that the New York Daily News has lower standards for accuracy than most news outlets. However, this story is true, as we confirmed with our own fact checking, and you should too. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and others predicted up to 65 million deaths via coronavirus in simulation ran 3 months ago. Foundation also funded group who owns virus patent and is funding research for a vaccine to stop it from spreading. On October 18, 2019, also before the outbreak, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, and the World Economic Forum co-hosted an event in New York City where policymakers, business leaders, and health officials worked together on a simulated coronavirus outbreak. This is from a source called Infowars.com. Yes, if you think it's real. No, if you think it's fake. Okay. So a lot of people are saying no. That seems to be our majority so far. So since our no thanks. So since the majority is no, I'm going to click no. Oh, I clicked the wrong one. I'm sorry. That was my fault. Glitch. You are all right. The article is fake. InfoWars, run by Alex Jones, specializes in fake and antagonistic rumors and fabrications. This is around the point where in a class I would explain the difference between newspaper articles and newspapers in general that are trying to give truthful information and newspapers that are doing something called satire. A lot of students don't realize that there are newspapers that are dedicated just to creating false information for sheer enjoyment. All right, this is the last one we're going to do. Is this the man behind the global coronavirus pandemic? In light of growing speculation, most of it within less than official circles, that the official theory for the spread of the coronavirus epidemic, namely because someone ate bat soup at a Wuhan seafood and animal market, is a fabricated farce, and that the real person behind the viral spread is because a weaponized version of the coronavirus, one which may have originally been obtained from Canada, was released by Wuhan's Institute of Virology, accidentally or not, at a top level 4 biohazard lab, which was studying the world's most dangerous pathogens. Perhaps it would be a good idea for the same Wuhan Institute of Virology to remove the following help wanted notice posted on November 18, 2019. This is from a source called zerohedge.com. Yes, no? Okay. Majority is a no. Okay, so since the majority says no, congratulations! You know the difference between fake news articles and real news articles. This false story was so untruthful that Twitter banned the site because of it. Zero Hedge is well known for spreading fake and misleading information. To quick tell that this is fake, the first sentence contains 156 words. Did you all notice how much of a run-on that was? And the author is Tyler Durden, a character from the movie Fight Club. So I do find this to be a fun game, and a lot of the students that I work with tend to find it to be a very fun game as well. So this is a really good way to get them learning about the issues and get them in the habit of identifying fake sources as opposed to real sources. And Factitious is completely free on the internet. It was actually created in combination with the American University Journalism School and JOLT, which is also funded by the same people who fund PBS. So I find it to be a really useful and fun way to get some techie and entertainment into a class. And like I said, I've also done Jeopardy games, and you can build your own Jeopardy game with a website called jeopardylabs.com. This is actually the page that I use to build the Jeopardy page, the Jeopardy game that you see here that I have on the screen. And like I said, it can take a little while for you to just put together all of the questions, but it's still a really fun way to interact and test your students' skills. Oops, too far. So that's up to you if you wanted to do a Jeopardy game. Like I said, I feel like it could be something that's more useful in maybe a multi-shot course, but again, that is completely dependent on you. Yes, students may question the authority of Factitious, which is why one of the things that I like to introduce when it comes to Factitious is telling students how it came about, who funded the game, and how they go about collecting the articles. So the people who run Factitious, they collect articles themselves from all over the internet, but they also allow their users to submit articles to them to be part of the game. And then you can also do your own research and make sure you're sending what you would like to send into Factitious. And again, you can tailor it to try to show the types of resources that you want to for your specific class. But it's all about making sure we're all doing our due diligence and researching where all of this comes from. And that's what we're trying to get our students to do. So I've also had students start building web pages in certain courses. Now, this is something that is not necessarily going to work in a one-shot instruction session. This is a project that was built into a course This was specifically for a business communications course. I partnered with the professor in an effort to create a new and interesting and entertaining type of assignment for her students. At the beginning of the semester, I teach them how to build a web page using a free web paging building site. Recently, we have been using Wix for a lot of our web pages. We've also used WordPress, but I found that Wix tends to be a bit more fun in terms of what students can do and how they can change the look of their site. My initial instruction session explains the basics of creating the web page, and then I follow up with each of the groups and individual appointments to help them build the websites better. During that initial instruction session, what I do is I show them how to build the web page. I then have them separate into their groups by using breakout rooms. I'll give them about 5-10 minutes to start building their site and to make sure everyone is a co-author of the site. And then I go into each of the individual rooms. I talk to them then if they have any questions on building the site, and then we follow up with a secondary appointment later on. I have found this to be a very fun and useful way to get students engaged in technology and doing something a bit more creative. I've had students in the class build web pages for businesses that they in fact wanted to try to build themselves. They ended up taking the web page that they built and later on using it to create a real live business that they were trying to build. One of the most recent things that we've made sure students have been doing is including that COVID-19 message. This is how we're making sure we maintain the relevance of this webpage building site. The purpose of this particular class, Business Communications, was to showcase the different types of way businesses communicate with both their employees and their patrons. As you all know, COVID-19 impacted businesses in a very severe way, so every student had to include a COVID-19 business message in their site. I'm going to show you a couple of different examples of sites that I have that I feel students did very well on. So this first one that I'm going to show is an eFoods example. So this particular group created an electronic foods business, and like I said, they used Wix to completely build their site. As you can see, they have some very nice moving graphics right on the front. They have some of their business communication messages right on the front. And then in regards to the actual class assignments, as I said, this was a business communications class, so they have the different types of messages that they had to use for the business communication class. And they utilized the different sites that the different pages that they could to build their website. Another one, which this tends to be very popular lately, students creating businesses that combine food and legalized marijuana. So this was a group project called Taste and Baked. You have to click on the enter 21 and over link first to even get into the page. And then they discuss how they combine pastries with weed, and they have a different menu page where you can see the different items that they sell, careers, and they even have baking workshops that they offer. And then this one was actually a hotel site, again, built by students using Wix. They talk about the hotel services that they offer, the different rooms, allowing you to make a reservation, services, dining, and they also even have a store. Now, why I've really been enjoying having these students build these web pages is because I feel that it's not only entertaining, but they tend to get very involved in building the web page. It tends to be full of discussion with imagery and how they're representing themselves as a business and business owners. They tend to get very creative with the project. And even though this was specifically for a business communications course, this is the type of thing that they can do in multiple varieties of courses. So I instruct them to get their images from free content pages such as Pixabay or Wikimedia Commons. If they don't get the images from there, I tell them that they have to have some sort of citation as to where they've gotten the images from. So that's where I tell them to get their images from. And I do believe that this can be done in a variety of courses. It doesn't have to be just for a business communication course. The most difficult part in this type of project is, like I said, it's not something that can be done in a one-shot session. It really takes some dedication, and you're going to have to be in contact with the groups on a regular basis. So since I do have a good communication with both the professor and the class, at the beginning of the last semester, again, this page was built during the spring 2021 semester, I did my session at the very beginning of the class, and then I held follow-up visits with all of the groups. They were also more than willing to email me any questions that they had on the fly so that they could make sure that they had the proper website and they were able to showcase it as much as they wanted. And like I said, they also had to make sure they had the COVID-19 message. So I found this to be a very fun and very interesting way to get students engaged. And yes, it is a good lesson in copyright to discuss Creative Commons images. I do make sure that they are getting their images from a free place or giving license where it is due. I'm not trying to get any students sued, especially since there are some students who take the websites and then go on to have real businesses with them. And again, this is a skill that not only they can use for this particular class, but I've now ingrained in them a skill that they can use later on down the road. They can build a website showcasing themselves, their own skill, bringing it all back to that digital footprint idea so that they are leaving my class with something solid and a foundation that they can use for their next steps. So how I got involved in the business project. So the class was a regular class that came to the library often for instruction sessions. I often did their instruction sessions and I just became friendly with the professor. And one day the professor said, I would like some different ideas on how I can sort of get more entertaining atmosphere in this course. So we sat down and we decided on the Build a Web Page project. Again, this came from good communication between me and this professor. Not every professor is going to be okay with you saying, oh, I think you should do this type of assignment. But when you have good communication and a good relationship with the professors in your institution, this might be the type of thing that you want to offer. Again, I also knew that I had the skill to show the students how to build the website. That's the portion where I came in. The professor themselves does not have that particular skill. So the website building was a semester-length project. I spoke with these students as often as they felt they needed me. Over the course of the semester, as they learned the different types of business communication, they then added a page to their website. And then at the end of the semester, every group showed the website off in a presentation. Altogether, with last semester, this particular professor was teaching two classes of the Business 150. So I taught both those classes and remained in contact with those groups. And then at the end of the semester, the professor invited me back into the classroom when they were showing off the websites and presenting them, which I thought was very nice of her. And it was nice of me to see how all of the work came to fruition. I do hope I answered your question. So even though what I'm doing now is fun, I have some great ideas of things that I would like to do in the future. For example, podcast creation. Now, BMCC is lucky enough to have a podcast booth inside of the library, but as most of you know, because of COVID, we have not been able to get back into our library space to utilize the podcast room. What I would like to do is try to create some virtual podcasts or even virtual talk shows with students, even if it's something as simple as recording the Zoom conversations, which can be done. There are also other recording programs that I would like to look into, such as Camtasia and Screencast-O-Matic, both of which I have used to create instructional videos for the library. But that's another idea that I would like to do, both in regards to even perhaps my outreach and my instruction sessions. My next idea is also virtual stories. So we had an event where we had students write down their issues in regards to their textbook cost. And while we still have all of this text, our next step is to actually record students talking about the hardship of affording their textbooks. And then we would like to put these virtual stories onto a web page for administration to see. And again, with our students now getting very familiar with Zoom, this can be something as simple as having a Zoom conversation and it being recorded. We can use different programs that we have gotten licenses to, like Camtasia, to record the stories. So those are some of the future ideas I have that I'm looking forward to working with in full. I do hope to be able to let you all know how those turn out later on down the line. And that's basically my presentation. I will share the presentation with Sarah and Jocelyn so that you all can look at the links or check out any of the things that I've done so far. But thank you for listening to me. Does anyone have any questions? I'm glad you found it informative and fun. That's what I'm going for. I want the students to find it fun as well.
Thank you so much, Sharell. That was great. And I'll hang around and help monitor the chat as well.
So some of the other information literacy questions that came up with building the web pages is where they were getting like business industry information from. Part of what they also had to do in regards to building a site was to familiarize themselves with the industry in which they were building. So part of my session is also to show them where to get good quality business industry information from. BMCC does have some useful databases in regards to looking up business industry information, like IBIS World. We also have Business Source Global. So I would tell them to utilize those. I would also tell them to look up competitive companies that might also be in their industry and learn from what they have on their own websites as well. So pay attention to the types of things they're doing. There was also an aspect in regards to them having to look up like newspaper articles and things of that nature in regards to their industry. Again, making sure that they were informative about the current issues in regards to that industry, especially for the sessions who like to do the taste and baked, the weed businesses. They got very creative in that. They had to look up firstly where it was legal. They started looking up different growing places that they could use, different laws in regards to where they could house their products. So a few different things came out of that session. Oh yeah, the textbook story is definitely something that I really want to do, because textbooks are such a hardship when it comes to all of our students. I'm at a community college, and more than not, our students live under the poverty level and cannot always afford these textbooks that the professors are requiring. So I'm hoping that by putting these virtual stories together and making them public for administration to see, it might be an effort for us to start pushing some more zero textbook cost courses, or to even make BMCC completely textbook free. Exactly. They don't capture the human side. But if you're watching a video of a real live student saying that I had to choose between my medication and affording this science textbook, that's different. I see someone added a empowering students to teaching information literacy concept with hands-on and minds-on activities. Yes, and that's my purpose here. I can actually stop the share. That's my purpose here, to teach them with some really, hands-on and creative things. Because I find that if they're interested in doing the project, they're going to get more engaged in learning about the issues and doing the research. Yes, students can write a paper, but when you're telling them to build a website, there's a little twinkle that goes off, like, ooh, I can learn to build a website. I don't think I have any more questions.
No, it looks like, yeah, it's quieted down. So just a reminder, everyone, at the SUNYLA Council meeting begins at noon, followed by chair yoga at 2, and then sessions resume at 2:15. So that's just a little rundown of the afternoon. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it.
We sure did. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Jocelyn, how would you like me to send you the presentation, PDF link? What works best for you?
Either if you have like a PowerPoint file or a Google Drive link, either one is fine.
No problem.
Great.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.